And I'm starting the feed out to Facebook as well.
So give me a sign when we're good to go. We're good?
Yep, Chairman, you can begin.
All right. I would like to welcome everyone to the December 2020 meeting of the Irondequoit Zoning Board of Appeals, which is virtual, being broadcast, I believe, live on Facebook and otherwise accessible through virtual means. Before we get underway, if everyone would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get underway, I do still have a few introductory remarks. I don't have to tell you about fire exits and things like that. However, I do want to review the manner in which we conduct the meeting and what you can expect. We call the cases in the order as they appear on our agenda. When the case is called, the applicant will be somehow admitted to the meeting and will state their name, their address, pause to be sworn, and then present their case to the board. During the presentation of the applicant's case to the board members may engage in discussion with the applicant, may have questions for the applicant, may discuss things among ourselves. When that process is all concluded, we will then open it up to public hearing. I understand there's a process which I'm not familiar with, but which will allow for input from the public and observers of the meeting who wish to participate in the public input portion of the case. We take public input into three categories. The first category is those who wish to speak in favor of the application, and we hear from all of those first. Then we open it up to those who wish to speak in opposition to the application, and after we've heard all those who are opposed to the application, we then open it up to a third category, those people who are neither in favor or opposed to the application, but want to talk to us about some aspect of the application, such as through lots or corner lots or chickens or whatever. And then after all the public input has been concluded, then the applicant is given the opportunity to address any concerns or issues that were raised during the public input portion. Once that has concluded, then we conclude the case and move on to the next case on the agenda. After we have heard all of the cases, we will usually take a short recess, and we'll probably do that tonight as well. Following the recess, we come back and we deliberate on the cases in the order in which they appear on the agenda and for which the applicant remains present. So if the applicant on the first case has left the meeting and the applicant for the second case is present, we would take the second case first. We would move down the agenda in that order for the applicants present. When we'd concluded with all of the cases for which the applicant was still present, we would go back and take the cases in order for which the applicants are no longer present. During this portion of the meeting, there is no opportunity for public input unless it's specifically requested by the board. If you have left the meeting and you're interested in knowing what the decision was of the board after the meeting, you're free to call the Town Hall Zoning and Planning Department tomorrow morning after 9 o'clock. They will be glad to tell you what our decision was. You can watch one of the many showings of our meeting on the community access channel, which is up in the 1300s on Spectrum, I believe. You can check us out on Facebook, or you can watch any other means that gives you access to our virtual meeting tonight. I think that covers all the bases that need to be covered. So without any further ado, we can go to the first case on our agenda.
Mr. Chair, first item on the agenda this evening is case number ZB 2020-12-1. Upon the matter of request by Robert Pino for area variances to install side yard fencing exceeding maximum permitted height and to maintain rear yard fencing with unfinished side facing adjoining property on premises 15 Gladmar Drive in an R2 residential district.
And do we have the applicant present?
So I'm going to ask if the attendee is attending by phone to press *9, or if the attendee is here via the Zoom app to raise your hand in the app. And we'll just wait a moment for that to take place. So again, I'll say for anybody that's an attendee that's related to this case, they can either press *9 on their phone. That indicates that you're interested in speaking, or they can raise their hand in the app and ask, which is requesting to speak. So Chairman and board members, I'm not seeing anybody indicating they'd like to speak. So I don't know if the applicant is here and just having technical difficulty, or if they're not here yet.
Well, since we don't seem to have, at the moment at least, a participating applicant, why don't we put that case aside? We'll recall it later and move on to the next case on the agenda.
Next item on the agenda is case number ZB 2020-12-2. Upon the matter of request by Sandra Barber for an area variance to maintain a shed forward of the front building line of the principal structure on premises 394 Washington Avenue in an R3 residential district.
Okay, I've got somebody join the meeting. The participants calling in by phone.
Is that Ms. Barber?
And you're gonna have to unmute yourself.
There's some secret code for that, isn't there? A star or a number or something?
I believe
Yeah, I'm
that
here.
it's all
I'm
set.
here.
Okay, Ms. Barber, you reside at 394 Washington Avenue?
Yes, I do.
All right, if you'd raise your right hand.
Yes.
You swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. So your application is to maintain the shed in the present location that is closest to, I think it's Cinnabar, correct?
Correct.
How long has the shed been there?
Since 2018,
All right, so over 2 years. Has
over 2
anyone-
years, yes.
Has anyone complained to you about any aspect of its location?
No, no one has.
For the record, we have received emails from Mary Sapone and Seth Corona, who are neighbors of yours, who indicate that they are quite content with the way you've been keeping the property, and also submitted with your application were letters from Bethany Kalansky and Stephen Kalansky, who reside at 104 Cinnabar, Sharon Racing at 121 Cinnabar, Borelli Perez, who lives at 110 Cinnabar, Kay Power at 85 Cinnabar, Valentina Skripka at 402 Washington, Joanna Sheldon at 99 Cinnabar, Lorna Lawler at 381 Washington Avenue. So you have a number of people who were supportive of your application.
Okay.
Are there any questions for Ms. Barber?
No, there's no. For me?
No, for you, from any members of the board. Since we're virtual,
Oh,
It's
okay,
hard.
okay. I'm sorry.
that's all right. We're all kind of new at this.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we won't get real used to it for very long.
No. It's been a strange year.
That it has.
Yes.
All right, seeing no questions from the board, we'll open it up to public input. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application?
My neighbor's here.
Your neighbors with you, do they want to speak?
Do you want to speak to them, Joanne? She lives across the street. Joanne Sheldon?
Okay. Ms. Sheldon, are you there?
Hi, this is Joanna Sheldon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
Good. You wanted to speak in favor of Ms. Barber's application?
Yes, I do.
Okay, now's your chance.
I just want to say that it actually makes the neighborhood look better compared to what it was like before. None of us mind it at all.
Okay.
So
Just
I'm
for
just,
the
I'm
record,
just,
I noticed that there was a picture that was submitted that showed, prior to the shed, showed a camper that was parked there, which I understand was being used for storage. Ms. Barber, is that right?
yes.
I think this, personally, I think the
Hello?
shed is a big improvement over the camper, but go ahead.
Yes. This is Sandy.
Yep. Okay. And Ms. Sheldon, did you agree with that the shed is a big improvement over the camper?
What was the question? I'm sorry, what was the question?
If when you said it's an improvement, I assume you were referring to the shed as opposed to that camper that had been there.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Just wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor of this application?
Anyone else that wants to?
No, I was
No,
opening that up.
that's it. That's it.
Okay.
Just Joanna was the only one over here.
No. I was opening it up to whoever might have logged in, zoomed in, or however in they get in.
Oh, okay.
So if the applicant will just, you can stay on the call. I'm just going to put out there that if anybody else wants to speak related to this application, they should press *9 on their phone if they're here by phone, or they should raise their hand through the Zoom app. So we'll wait another moment to see if anybody expresses interest in speaking.
While we're waiting for that, Sandra, can I have the address of Joanne Sheldon's?
Joanne, 99 Cinnabar Road.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's what I forgot to mention earlier, was that when you come to the microphone or Zoom or phone in, however you get in,
Right.
state your name and your address, please, so that we know who you are for the record. Our Secretary Michelle is keeping track of what goes on for the purpose of minutes, but not an actual transcript. So that helps her in keeping track of who's saying what.
Chairman, I do have a raised hand, so I'm going
Okay.
to, and the person's identified just as user. So you'll be able to have to ask them for their name and their address when they join.
Okay. All right, if you could give us your name and your address, please.
Yes, my name is Mary Sapone and I live at 407 Washington Avenue.
Okay,
I just wanted to mirror the sentiments that Sandy indicated and her neighbor. Sandy keeps her yard impeccably clean and orderly all year long. And I think that the shed really only adds to the value of our neighborhood, the houses around it, which is, I think, is more than I can say for other homes in our particular area. I mean, you know, despite the weather or the time of year, is always outside keeping her yard and her property maintained. So I just wanted to share my support for her to keep the shed in place.
thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of this application?
There are no, I'm not seeing any other hands raised. Hang on one moment. Let me just scroll down. We can take the going once, going twice, 3 times. I still don't see any speakers.
Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this application?
I'm not seeing anybody.
And is there anyone who'd like to speak to the application, but neither in favor of or opposed to? Might want to talk about sheds, corner lots, anything like that. Apparently we have none, so we will close the hearing with respect to this matter and move on to the next case on our agenda. Ms. Barber, you're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. And thank you for your presence tonight.
Chairman, I have somebody that just raised their hand.
Okay,
So I don't, oh, never mind. It's been taken back. Forgive me, that the person raised their hand, but they must have just undone it.
okay.
Okay, it appears that Michelle may be having some audio issues. So I may be reading your next case for you.
Okay,
And I'll go ahead and read the next case. Case number ZB 2020-12-3. Upon the matter of request by Maria Magitsky, acting as agent for, gosh help me, via Shlevlov Magitsky, for a special use permit to harbor 4 hens with coop pursuant to Town Code Section 235-70 on premises 11 Norcrest Drive in an R2 residential district.
all right. Is Ms. Magitsky here?
I believe she is, so bear with me for a moment. And there we are.
Right, at one point on the application, I saw 5 hens and then the written out described 4. Are we talking 4 or 5?
Oh, hang on one moment.
Okay,
So Marika, you should be able to speak
Okay.
now.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, hi.
I'm
So
so sorry. You can certainly pronounce your name for the record because I know I butchered it.
that's okay. So my name is Maria Magitsky and I am an agent for Vyacheslav Magitsky. I am his wife and we reside at 11 Norcrest Drive.
all right. Would you raise your right hand, please?
Yep.
All right, do you swear that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
So there are actually 6 hens total. What happened is one of them was a rooster, so we obviously got rid of it. So we replaced it with another hen. So there are 6 total. I corrected that earlier today with Michelle Nichols at the town hall, but I'm not sure if you got the update or not. So it actually is 6 total.
All right. The All right, how long have the hens been there?
So they've been there since June, but they've been inside the house. They weren't outside until August.
You had them inside your house?
Yeah, so they're born baby chicks. So they're chicks and then they grow up to be hens. So when they were baby chicks, they were in the garage,
Okay.
not
They
inside.
grow,
Sorry.
they grew up pretty fast from what I saw.
Yeah, so they it only takes like 18 weeks for them to become full-size hens.
Just for those who are observing, once again, I'll remind everyone that this is an application for a special use permit, not a variance. As such, it is our role not to determine whether or not chickens are okay to have in the town of Arundecoit. Town Board has already made that determination that they are, along with a number of other animals that are specified in the ordinance. Horses being our most recent other one, last month, I think that was. And on a special use permit, it is our role to make sure that we impose conditions so that the permitted use is compatible with the neighborhood and the interest of the neighbors joining the properties. So it's a different standard than with respect to fences and other things that we deal with. Ms. Nagitsky, I believe that in the application, it indicated that at some point you had become familiar with the prior history and the requirements in the town, correct?
Correct.
And it seems like you followed most of what we usually do. Your application indicates that the fencing, the chicken wire fencing is buried 2 feet underground to prevent underground access to the hens, correct?
Correct.
And the food is kept in closed containers and not in the same area, correct?
Correct.
And the one question that I did have is, how close to your side lot line is the coop that's there?
So let me just pull up the map really quick. Okay, so the coop is, it's more than 10, I'm not sure, but it's behind the front fence. I don't know. I have the map in front of me, but it doesn't say the feet. I'm sorry.
All right, because one of the conditions that we generally impose is that it should be, I think it's 8 feet from any boundary line on the property.
Okay, so I will say that it's definitely more than 30 feet.
Oh, okay, so you own quite a bit more than what it appeared that you owned.
Yeah, I own 11 Norcrest Drive, and I also own 11 Norcrest Rear. So it's in my backyard. It's behind the fence.
I was thinking it was closer to the house to the west. I think Mr. Young used to live there.
Yeah, so it's not. It's on my property line, and it is close to his fence, but it's not in his property. And I actually just bought 9 Norcrest, so that's another thing I wanted to mention. But I mean, either way, it's still on my property.
All right, so you now own 9 and 11 Norcrest?
Correct.
All right.
But I did make sure that obviously, it's on my property and it is behind a fence. And I also want to mention that there's a big hedge in front of it. So it's not an eyesore to anyone driving by, and it's not even really visible from the road. So I did also want to mention that.
Yeah, I wasn't able to see it until I went down your driveway and looked through looked like a car truck carrier that was parked there.
Oh yeah, my husband.
Mm-hmm. Is that parked there regularly, that truck?
No, he only does like he'll do like a quick oil change on it, and then he goes to Manhattan and back, New York City and back, so he's never really here.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a truck driver.
All right. Does anybody have questions about the coop, the hens, or the other conditions that we generally impose are that you provide a certificate to the town every year from a veterinarian that attests to the fact that the hens are healthy. You also agree to allow someone from the town to come in and inspect the hens and the coop if necessary. Also, that we generally have limited it to 4 hens. So you have 6 at the present time. So when you're down to 4, you would not be replacing the other 2. Are those conditions all agreeable to you?
Yes, that's agreeable.
All right. And the other condition is that you maintain the coop and the run area in a clean and sanitary manner, okay?
Yep.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions, or did I overlook any of the conditions? I don't have my sheet in front of me of chicken conditions. I should.
Can I just say something really quick?
Sure.
So as I mentioned, I own 9 Norcrest now, which is on the left of me. And then I also want to mention that 23 Norcrest is currently vacant, which is directly on the right side of me. So hopefully it's not bothersome to either neighbor. And then also I have signatures from 4 other neighbors in the area. I'm sorry, 3 other neighbors in the area that do not oppose it. They are in favor of it. I don't know if you got a copy or not, but I emailed that to Michelle earlier this morning. So I just wanted to quickly mention that I do have support from my surrounding neighbors.
I don't recall seeing that. Can you tell us their names and addresses for the record, please?
Yes, so I have Jim McAllister at 31 Norcrest Drive. I have Dave Costa, I believe, at 363 Norcrest Drive. And I also have Rhonda Broderick at 379 Norcrest Drive. And then another house is 39 Norcrest Drive. That's actually vacant. So there's a couple vacant houses on our street right now, but.
All right. Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to your application?
That's all.
Okay. Does any members of the board have any questions or comments for Ms. Magitsky? All right, seeing none, we'll open it up to public input. Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this application?
And I'll just remind anybody that's viewing or attending the meeting via Zoom or by phone. By Zoom, there's on your menu of options, if you right click, I believe you can raise your hand to speak. If you're calling in by phone and would like to speak, *9 is the menu option for you, and that'll raise your hand on our app. And I'm just going to scroll down and make sure we don't have anybody waiting to comment. I'm seeing no hands, Chairman.
All right, is there anyone present who wishes to speak in opposition to this application?
I am not seeing any raised hands.
Is there anyone who would like to talk to us about the application and who's neither for nor against it?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a
Welcome
couple
back.
emails that I've received after 4:30 this afternoon.
Okay, if you could read them in for us, please.
The first one is, it's just, it doesn't give me an address, but it's from an LFROHIC, FROHLIC.
Froelich?
Froelich, yep. She
Okay,
doesn't give me an address, or this person, individual resident does not give me an address, but they are asking, will the chickens be confined or allowed to free range, ? Will there be a rooster introduced into the chicken coop, ? Do you need a permit before construction and propagating with chickens? Are there any health issues related to maintaining chickens in a residential area?
all
But
right,
she doesn't, I'm sorry, they don't give me an address.
all right. Roosters, we do not allow roosters.
Correct.
For the benefit of anyone and everyone who may be listening, yes, generally permission is required before construction. And it's not a case where generally we're not inclined to say it's okay not to have gotten permission first. But in certain instances, the fact that construction has gone ahead without a permit or without the necessary approvals is not fatal to an application. In terms of the health considerations, that's why we request an annual certification from a veterinarian and know that the hens are not allowed to free range in the property. They're confined to the coop in the run. That's why we require the coop to be properly constructed. So those are, I believe, the answers to the questions that were posed. Were there others, Michelle?
Yes, I have one more, sir. I'm sorry, I was typing.
Nope, that's all right.
I have one more. This is from a Martha Swayson, and she lives at 575 Rock Beach Road. And she states in her email regarding the special use permit for harboring hens, I would like to register 2 concerns. First, noise, even assuming there would not be a rooster. Second, attraction of other animals to the neighborhood, especially coyotes, cats, rats, possums, raccoons. We have had problems with some of these already. My home is only 2 houses away as 575 Rock Beach Road backs up to Norcrest Drive directly. We could be adversely impacted by noise and animal activity.
All right, I can, with respect to that, I can indicate that I didn't hear any noise when I was there. That's why I had to look around to find the coop. I have also, with respect to previous applications, spent half hour to an hour listening for noise from hens. Dogs are much noisier than hens. And with respect to the attraction of animals, that's why we put conditions on for keeping food in sealed containers and not in the area, and why we have the requirement that the fencing be dug into the ground 2 feet to deter the attraction of other animals. I don't think that chickens and hens are the only attractions. In speaking with some pest control people, specifically with respect to rats, I understand that bird seed and animal waste are attractive, more attractive to rats and other animals than hens are. And I also understand that we can't control all of those animals, and it's not just hens. Those are why the conditions have developed over time. I will repeat again, though, that most of us on this board don't have experience with chickens and hens and other animals of that nature. And certainly if anyone has some options where we can go to get additional training and information, that would be very helpful. Was there other emails?
No, sir.
Okay. So was there anyone that we covered all 3 categories, right? Yes. Okay. Then we will move on to, well, did the applicant wish to address any of the concerns that were raised in those emails?
I would just like to note that we have a night vision camera set up on our backyard, and I get a notification alert to my phone if there is any wildlife or animal movement there throughout the night. The only thing I've gotten are obviously the deer. I haven't noticed any other wildlife in the area. I have seen coyotes and stuff over on Washington, but they've been there prior to us getting chickens. I saw those in the springtime, so not really sure if those are from my chickens or not. And then also the noise concern. They are very quiet. I can't hear them. No one would even guess that they're back there really unless you told them and showed them. So not sure about the noise. I mean, we don't have any roosters. They're hens. They're quiet. They just sit and lay eggs. That's about it. So that's all.
All right, then we will close the hearing with respect to this matter and move on to the next application on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next case on the agenda is case number ZB 2020-12-4. Upon the matter of request by Mandy Friend Gigliotti for area variances to install a freestanding and building sign on premises 1280 North Winton Road in an R1 residential district.
Mandy, you should be able to speak now. So Mandy Gigliotti is here.
Hello.
Hello. Can you give us your name and address, please?
Yep, Mandy Friend Gigliotti. The property address that I'm here for is 1280 North Winton, Rochester, New York, 14609.
And then would you please raise your right hand?
Yes,
Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, I do.
Okay. If you would tell us what it is that you're looking for.
Yes, so we are changing, my husband's chiropractic office was previously at 1280 North Winton, and our current daycare facility right now, Full Heart Childcare, is at 1300 North Winton. So in efforts to expand our daycare center, we have moved my husband's chiropractic office into a new building and are now expanding in renovating his old chiropractic office and turning it into a daycare. As we are doing that, we are also changing it to be the main access. So 1300 North Winton is essentially a flag lot. And so we have the entrance that, you know, it works, but it's not ideal. And us utilizing 1280 North Winton as the entrance is going to be really beneficial for our families. And we think a lot more convenient for pickup and for drop off. So we are planning on putting a sign up there at the 1280 entrance. And because it is a residential district, it's zoned residential, we just have to get a variance for that. In there, I did put that I would like it to not be 5 feet back from the sidewalk, just because of the topography. There's kind of a big slant. But when I spoke with that other woman, Donna, when I spoke with Donna Martello, she was saying that the height can actually be modified if we do go that full 5 feet, that I does, because I was like, it's going to run into the ground if I can only have it that feet. So I'm frankly pretty flexible, 3 feet or 5 feet back from the sidewalk. I just have to get a variance because it is residential. So that's the first piece to it.
All right, the signs that are up for further north on Winton, there's 2 signs, one for the north entrance, one for the south entrance. I forget the name of the organization that it's in that building now. Would your signs be roughly in line with theirs?
James, I'm not sure. I did not measure what theirs is, but I do know that the current Full Heart Childcare is closer than that 5 feet. But we took it over. It was Creative Kids prior to us. And so that sign was already there. So we were able to just put our name on it instead. And we kept all of the dimensions. So I'm not sure. I know that that one is less than 5 feet. So yes, it would be in alignment with what the current sign is at 1300 North Winton, which is the current entrance to our daycare.
All right. What about, there was a construction company sign there?
Yes, we are mid-construction right now, Hamilton and Stern. Hamilton and Stearns, I think, is far back. It's like 6 feet, maybe almost 7 feet back.
All right. So yours would be roughly in the same location as theirs, only a little closer. Is that it?
No, we plan on having ours on the north side of the driveway.
Okay, but in line, kind of the way theirs is, but on the flip side, right?
Theirs is about 6 feet back, and ideally we want ours to be about 3 feet back.
All right. And then the sign on the building?
Yes. So I don't think there's any way for me to drop a photo on there, but essentially, so we're changing the entrance of the building. So in order for us to kind of get the layout to just kind of have a good flow with all of our, with the daycare families and the kiddos and all of that, we are changing the front entrance to be kind of tucked back. I don't know totally how to describe it, but it's hard for us to have any sort of like entrance sign or really wayfinding to the front. And so where I would like to have this like wayfinding sign is above the door on where the tan stucco is. I think I've sent a picture along with that. Kind of
You
just
did.
great. So just a wayfinding to point towards the entrance, because the way the entrance is laid out, it's a door and windows, and there's no place for us to be able to put the Full Heart Childcare entrance sign. We have new families coming, at least once a day. And sometimes they are coming after work. And as we know, it gets dark at like 2 p.m. So we really want to make it as easy as possible for our families to be able to feel comfortable, because we know that comfort is key for our families. So just having some solid wayfinding is important for us. And so having that on the building in the front would be our request.
I see above there what appears to be a light.
Yes. We have a light outside all of our doors from an egress perspective. And
Okay.
we will be using that as egress. So we're keeping that light. And
Right.
honestly, we may have to add another one depending on contractors' measurements of light.
Okay. And then
Sometimes the daycare is a little bit more strict than some of the others.
all right, and a little bit to the north and behind that stucco building is a brick structure. Is that part of your daycare as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that used to be owned by, I think, was the brothers, right?
Yes.
Yes, that was
Yep.
for those who follow the never-ending saga of the Arundecoid Zoning Board of Appeals, that was an interesting application a number of years ago.
Yeah, we've heard that people were pretty happy that we came to town.
I'll bet. All right. Are there any questions or comments from the board for Ms. Gigliotti?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Go ahead.
Where you want the sign on the building, that's gonna be the main entrance to the whole facility now? That's the intent?
No, the main entrance is, I have a photo. Is there?
Is this, the main entrance is gonna be still on the 1300 building then?
No, the main entrance is actually, if you look at the top,
I
you
see.
have kind of
Yeah.
essentially where yeah, so the main entrance is the spot between kind of the stucco and the brick.
Okay, it's around to the,
Yeah,
To the
so
right
it's
of the
tucked
building.
in there. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
it just got a little confusing. The
I
other
know.
comment I have is that where you want to put the sign, sometime in the past, Monroe County took a 10-foot or 10.5-foot highway reservation. Will they need a permit from the county to put a sign where they want to put it?
I'll have to check if they'll need a county sign. Typically, the county only requests a sign when it's in their right of way or really close to encroaching.
Yeah,
We can double check with Monroe County DOT.
yeah, they keep changing the rules on these reservations that they take. So somebody should check on that.
Yeah, we can certainly, because a variance would be required, we didn't engage with Monroe County DOT
Okay,
at this point, but we certainly can to make sure that they're okay.
all right, thanks.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public input. Is there anyone virtually present who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application?
I'm
Anyone
not
who'd
seeing
like,
sorry, I was just confirming, I'm not seeing anybody raise their hands.
okay, anyone who'd like to talk to us about signs, daycare, anything along those lines, who's neither in favor or against the application? All right, hearing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this application and move on to the next case on our agenda.
Next item on the agenda is case number ZB 2020-12-5. Upon the matter of request by Nicole Buchanan for an area variance to install front yard fencing exceeding maximum permitted height and non-conforming fence type on premises 2600 St. Paul Boulevard in an R1 residential district.
I've just added the, oh, hold on one moment. The
Oh.
applicant should be here by phone.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Ms. Buchanan?
Yes, sir.
All right. You reside at 2600 St. Paul Boulevard, correct?
Correct, sir.
All right. Can you raise your right hand?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is the same application that was before us in October, except that tonight you're asking us to allow for a 4-foot fence and for it to be
Semi-private.
semi-private, correct?
Yes, sir.
And is there any other change, location,
No.
anything else from what we approved in October?
No, sir. The reason for changing the fence style, I had originally have an open style on the fence. Well, my granddaughter, she would climb up to the open fence. So
Okay.
it's safe to in regard to her. That's what make I think. And I really honestly, I didn't do my background check with this fence until I really get into it, and I realized a lot of it that you said is true. You cannot get the vinyl fence. You can't get no less than 6 feet. You can't get no 5 feet. It's a custom order, which you were correct in that field. But I noticed in the hearing, I'd applied for the 3.5 feet high. I used it up to 4 will be fine. So in this item, on my research, this fence will be 4 feet high.
Okay. I would note that we had received a email from Mr. Foster, who lives at 32 Wimbledon. He expressed concerns about whether he'd be able to adequately see cars and traffic coming from St. Paul as he pulled out of his driveway. Mr. Hollenbeck, who lives near you on St. Paul, sent email expressing his support of your application. And you also submitted a supplemental letter this morning addressing the concerns that were raised in Mr. Foster's email. So,
Yes, sir.
does anybody have any questions or comments from the board with respect to this application? All right, seeing none, we'll open it up to public input. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak in favor of this application?
I'm not seeing anybody raising their hand just yet.
All right, is there anyone present who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Is there anyone who'd like to talk to us about fences or corner lots or anything like that, who is neither in favor of or opposed to the application?
Hey, Jen,
Chairman,
I just got,
I'm sorry, Chairman, I do have one person raising their hand.
Okay. Yes,
Hold on one
Ryan.
moment.
no, Jim, I just had one question. Is she picking the first option? What option is she picking for her fence?
Good
Well,
question.
if we can hold on for one moment, I'm trying to let the one person speak. Mr. Foster is the name, or James Foster is the name that's showing up on as the user.
Okay,
And if they would, and then right now I currently have the applicant muted so that the background noise doesn't interfere with the recording. So
Okay.
if you'll hold on, let's have this, our one person speak, and then I can unmute our applicant.
Yes, this is Marisha Foster, James Foster's wife. So our question is, will the fence come all the way to the sidewalk that she's putting up?
From a staff question, the staff can answer that question. The fence cannot come to the sidewalk by code on a street facing side yard or front yard. There has to be a setback of at least 3 feet from the property line. The property line often is not even abutting directly the sidewalk. So there's usually more of a gap. I'll pull up the application to give a more direct measurement.
Okay.
Yeah, the height. What height does she want?
And also, what is the height of the fence?
the request is for a fence that's 4 feet high.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify, the property, the property line on St. Paul, there's quite a bit of a setback where the right of way begins and then the sidewalk. I don't have a scale with me. I'm looking at this on on the computer, so I don't have the ability to scale per se. But I would have to hazard, just based on other measurements on the plan, there's at least a 7-foot gap between the edge of the property and then to the sidewalk. On the Wimbledon Road side, the right of way or the property boundary line comes much closer, maybe a half a foot or so to the concrete sidewalk's edge. But there would still have to be a 3-foot setback from that portion.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, and then there was Mr. Travis's question. Can we unmute the applicant to get an answer to that?
We certainly can. Ms. Foster, are you all set with your comments to the board, or is it okay for me to unmute you?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so the applicant's been unmuted.
Right, Ms. Buchanan, Mr. Travis had a question as to which style of fence was you were asking us to approve. In the application, you appear to indicate that your first choice is the square lattice fence, that your second choice is some kind of a patterned
Yes, sir.
fence, and the third choice was a solid fence, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, correct.
All right. Are you committed to that first choice?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, because I think that the first choice, it would appear to me, is of all the selections would be the one that is closest to what would be required, that meets your specifications of your granddaughter not being able to crawl through the holes.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what my concern was.
Okay.
My main concern. And I
So,
also promised to buy a little puppy for her on her birthday, which is 2 months from now.
okay. All right. So if we were to approve it for the square lattice fence, that would be consistent with your application. Is that correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
All right.
And
Was there anyone else? What's
just so you
that?
know, sir, just so you know, my neighbors across from me, they're all on board with it. They
Okay.
say they can wait for me to put the fence up.
All right. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak with respect to this application? I think we heard from the Fosters who raised questions. I don't think anyone indicated they wanted to speak in favor or oppose. So is there anyone else who wishes to speak with respect to this application before we close the case? I think you're muted still, Carrie.
Apologies. So the Fosters still have their hand raised, so I don't know if that's just a setting they
Okay.
forgot to uncheck. Oh, then now it's gone. Okay.
All right.
I just wanted to verify that. I didn't know if it was a new raised hand or the former one, but we're all set, it looks like.
Okay, then we will close the hearing with respect to this case and move on to the next case on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next case on the agenda is case number ZB 2020-12-6. Upon the matter of request by GRH Architecture, Engineering, and Construction, acting as agent for Myron Stamps for an area variance to construct an open front porch with less than required front setback on premises 42 Maroa Drive in an R2 residential district.
All right, is there somebody present on behalf of the applicant?
Hold on one moment. I see. I have two hands raised. Hold on one moment. It looks like I've got Reza, who is the applicant's representative, and another participant via phone. Oh, bear with me. So, Reza, you should be able to join the meeting. So Reza's in the meeting. Maybe there's an audio issue. It appears he is not muted.
Is it Mr. Hormanesh?
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Maybe perhaps some technical difficulties.
All right.
And do you want to try to come back to it?
Why don't we do that?
Oh,
come
hold on
back
one
to-
moment. I'm going to allow, somebody else is asking to talk.
Okay.
Oh, we've got somebody speaking.
Hello,
there
this is Paula and Myron Stamp, residents at 42 Memorial Drive.
Yes.
I know that our architect was on the line, but I just got disconnected for some reason. So I had to call back in. I'm not for sure if the same thing happened to him.
Well,
All right.
it looks like he's in the meeting, but we're not able to speak or hear from him.
Okay.
I'm going to, Chairman, I'm going to promote him to panelist to see
All
if
right.
that potentially will help.
Now it looks like he's muted.
Can you see him? Because I've lost him.
Well, I don't see a
Oh, there he
visual,
is.
but I see his name at the bottom and a yellow
Yeah.
or red microphone.
Yeah, so Reza, if you're participating, you can speak. And I'm requesting on my side, requesting for him to unmute. Oh,
Doesn't appear to be muted anymore.
no, I unmuted him, yeah, so maybe
Now it is.
somebody's maybe washing the dishes. I'm not sure. So we may want to. The applicants are on the line and potentially can speak to the application. I know they wanted the architect was going to maybe represent.
All right, Ms. Stamps, can you raise your right hand?
Yes, sir.
All right, do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right. My understanding of your application is that the only variance you require for what you want to do to the property is for a front porch. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it would be an open front porch.
Yes, sir.
And I believe that plans depicting that have been provided with the application, along with plans for all of the extensive other work that you're planning on having done to the house.
Yes, sir.
I know that I've said this before. I'll say it again, that many years ago when a neighbor of mine wanted to put a front porch on the house, they were told that if they were allowed to do it, then everybody would want to do it. And it wasn't many years after that that I went to a presentation that was put on by a psychologist at the high school after the Columbine incident, who pointed out that part of the reason for societal changes is because we've gone from a front porch society to a rear deck society. And after hearing him talk about the difference between rear decks and front porches, I've become a bigger fan of front porches than I was at the time I was supporting my neighbor. So
Okay.
I think there's, and we've approved a number of front porches. This is not going to be a front deck, as I see from the patterns you're talking about having columns, and it's going to have I think it's going to be a concrete pad. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And it's not going to be open underneath to the ground, right? Okay.
Right.
All right. Did you want to add anything to my summary of your application?
Just that we would just appreciate, we haven't gotten to know any of the neighbors, but we will certainly just appreciate their support in having the open porch. We do have small children, and I know they're going to want to ride bikes, and I just want to be able to sit out and, and oversee and make sure that they are safe when they're enjoying their bikes and skateboards and things like that.
How long have you lived at the property?
We have not actually moved into the property yet.
Okay.
We're looking to get all of the construction completed before we move in.
All right. I was going to say that from the plans that I've seen, I would think that any of your neighbors would welcome the changes that you're going to be making to this property. It kind of stood out as I drove by.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from any members of the board? All right, then we will move on to the, oh, no, I'm sorry. First, is there anybody present who wishes to speak in favor of the application?
No additional hands have been raised.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application?
I'm seeing no hands raised either.
Anyone who'd like to talk to us about front porches? Or anything else?
Still no hands raised.
All right, then we'll close the hearing with respect to this application and move on to the next application on the agenda.
Excuse me, I just have one question. Do I need to stay on for this part, or am I free to
Nope.
leave at this point?
You are
Okay,
free to
thank you.
leave. If you'd like to know the decision, you can tune in to Facebook later on tonight or on cable in the
Okay.
1300 range, or you can call
Okay.
into the zoning and planning office tomorrow morning and they'll be glad to tell you what our decision was.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a good evening. Thank you for
Yep, you
joining
too.
us.
Thank you.
Next case on the agenda is case number ZB 2020-12-7. Upon the matter of request by Mark and Mary Taliento for an area variance to store 2 recreation vehicles in the legal front yards on a through lot year-round and allow for the temporary storage of a 3rd recreational vehicle until sold on premises 109 Seneca Road in an R2 residential district.
I'm looking to see who might be here as a representative of this application. I've got one person participating by phone. If you are the applicant, you need to press *9. I've got a few other individuals. I don't know that if any of them are the representing this case. I do see a Mary listed. I don't know if that's the applicant that's in attendance. I'm going to allow Mary to talk for a moment and we see if we can verify this. Mary, I just activated your attendance, so if you are the are you the applicant for this
Yeah.
case?
If it says Mary T, yes.
It just says Mary on it.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I had a T
That's
behind
okay.
it. So yes, we're the applicant, my husband and I.
Are you
All
both
right.
present?
Yes, we are.
All right, and you live at 109 Seneca Road?
Yes.
All right, if you'd both raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. First off, I want to point out with respect to this application, use it as a vehicle for reminding people who are listening in or maybe listening in the future. When someone applies for a variance and asks the zoning board to consider granting a request for a variance from the requirements of the zoning ordinance, we as members of the zoning board very often, and I would say in most cases, actually come and visit the property so that we can get a feel for what is being requested and how that impacts or might impact the surrounding neighborhood. So when you submit an application to the zoning board, you have given permission for us to come onto the property to look at things in connection with the passage or the request that you've submitted for a variance. I understand that there was some issue with respect to that, with respect to this application. And I just want to clarify for anyone who's watching and any future applicants, that that is part of what we do. Okay, so moving on to your application, can you tell us what it is that you're asking us to allow?
So it's a little different than it's written. We are not looking to store 2 year round on the front yard, just during the winter months. We put them in the garage for the 2 boats go in the garage for the winter. So we're looking to keep, when 1 boat is for sale, so that will not be an issue. So it would be just a camper and 1 boat on the grass in our front yard, which we consider a backyard, because we have a through lot on the grass during the summer.
Now, when I came by your property yesterday, I saw that there was a camper that was parked on the driveway in front of the garage. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, that's a camper. We moved it over there once we got the complaint.
And what is the problem with the camper being in that location?
Well, we were told that it's really not supposed to be there either, because it's parked on dirt, not on the driveway.
Oh, it's not on the driveway there?
No, we just moved it over there until the hearing was over, so we knew where to put it.
Can that place where it's parked now, can that be paved with a hard surface?
Yes.
And can that camper stay there?
It can.
We were told that's also part of our front yard.
Well, it is. You don't have a backyard.
Right.
You have 2 front yards. But my question is, in terms of the location, the place that you've indicated that you want to keep these, I really don't view that as being compatible with the spirit of the requirement. You've got 2 front yards, but in the middle of your through lot, where you're between the house and the garage, is what, if your garage was a house, would be backyards. The other area that you're talking about would be a front yard under any definition. And so my concern is that if we're going to allow you to park it on the property, like anyone else would be able to, that it should be in the area that would be in your backyard and your neighbor's backyards, not in the front yard. That was my concern.
Okay, it's practically behind the garage. I mean, it's back up to the fence as far as it can go when we park it there. It's 50 feet back from the front, from the street.
What are you talking
about? The camper, when we park the camper, do you have the pictures from, that were taken, the violation pictures?
No.
Oh, I apologize. I thought they were included. So the camper is backed up to the chain link fence that's there, which is pretty much behind the garage line.
Is that where it is now that you're talking about?
No, where we want to park it.
Where you want to park it. Okay.
Right.
If the garage was a house,
if the
like you said, it would be in the backyard.
And as far as the third recreational vehicle, we can always keep one in the garage, the one that's for sale, until it's sold. And only have to worry about 2 during the summer, which I believe you can have 2 in your backyard. But unfortunately, we don't have a backyard because it's a front yard, because we have an unusual circumstance with a through lot.
The problem, one of the problems that I have with what you're requesting as opposed to where the camper is now is that they're very visible from the Brandon Road side. And I'm not at all thrilled with the idea of parking it on grass. There's a reason for having a hard surface. It doesn't have to be paved, but pavers or concrete or whatever. There's a reason for that. And I'm not inclined to say, okay, you can park it on the grass. But in terms of the location, I much prefer the idea of where you have it now as opposed to that. But assuming that other members of the board may disagree with me, are you willing to put a line of arborvitae or some other plant, shrubs, trees that would pretty much make that area invisible, say across parallel with the back line of that garage?
Or a privacy fence, would that work? Or
that would probably require another variance, but it might. That's only 6 feet tall though.
Right.
I was thinking something about 8 or 10 feet.
Okay, so from
to cover it up.
Line with the back of the garage, plant like trees there, arborvitae's.
Yeah, that make it so that from Brandon Road side, you don't see RVs and boats parked there. You see growth.
Right.
It shields it. But that's the other place. But my preference is that the blacktop driveway be extended to the east and that you use that portion there to park it.
And what about the boat during the summer?
Well, that could be parked on the driveway next to it, right?
I'm sorry?
Couldn't that be parked on the driveway next to it?
Then you wouldn't be able to get the car in the garage.
Oh, well, where's the boat now? I didn't see any boats there. They're in the garage now.
They're in the garage.
Is there a reason they can't be kept at the one that you're still going to have after the other is sold can't be kept in the garage, or?
It's very difficult to get in and out.
Oh, okay.
It's a very tight fit through the door. I mean, the rear yard requirements say you can have a vehicle parked on the grass. I mean, we don't have a rear yard. I understand that because it's a front yard because we have an unusual lot.
Yeah, there's very few of those in the town.
Right. So, I mean, they were there all of 2019. When this didn't become an issue till we had the driveway blacktopped and we had to park the cars there too. And I don't know if that was the problem.
I don't know, but apparently somebody had an issue with it.
I did collect several signatures from my neighbors.
I was going to read those into the record. If you'd like, I can do that at this point. We received an email from Norma Carter at 301 Brandon Road. She indicates that she does not object to keeping them there year round. We have an email from a Lynn Atchison at 126 Seneca Road, who's strongly opposed to allowing recreational vehicles to be parked in the front yard.
May I comment on that for one moment?
Wait till I finish reading all of them into the record, because otherwise I'll get lost. We have an email from Carolyn in Sulaco at 99 Seneca Road, who expresses concern about having more than one recreational vehicle stored. We have a petition that you submitted, which has signatures from people at 116 Seneca Road, 13. I'm not clear what road that is. 93 Seneca. Oh, that's 93 Seneca Road, 285 or 288 Brandon Road, 134 Seneca Road, 99 Seneca Road, 125 Seneca Road, 277 Brandon Road, 135 Seneca Road, 309 Brandon Road, 301 Brandon Road, 272 Brandon Road, 283 Brandon Road, and 308 Brandon Road. We also have an email from Lynn Atchison, who is opposed to your application. And we have an email from a Mary Zederozny at 325 Brandon Road. And she is not in favor of the application. And also an email from Ms. Franjakis at 86 Seneca Road, who also is opposed to the application. So those are the comments that we received in advance of the hearing this evening. So you're free to address those, and I would invite questions and comments from the other members of the board as well.
So I didn't speak to the woman at one, I'm sorry, I think it's Lynn Atchison, which is 126 Seneca. But I mean, if you read this and you don't understand, if she's thinking I'm going to park them in my front yard on Seneca, I don't know. Because then she would probably have a concern. She can't even see my backyard. I just wanted to point that out. So I don't know if maybe it was misunderstood, because the other neighbors across the street that I talked to were fine with that. Mark at 288 Brandon, who is the yellow house, directly next to the yard where we parked the boats, was fine with it. And he would be the most impacted. And I know you can have up to 2 recreational vehicles. I apologize, when we had the 3, I guess I did not realize that. We can keep, like I said, we can keep the one that's for sale in the garage until it's sold. And we are only looking to keep the boat out in the yard during the summer. The camper doesn't fit in the garage through the door, so that's why we are looking to keep it outside. Do you have anything else? My husband keeps the yard very neat. He is constantly working out there.
What campers park?
Dave, what does that say? Where boat will go? Oh, so, well, ask. I don't know.
Put a stone driveway where the boat will be parked. You said a hard surface.
Can we just lay gravel?
I would defer to the staff as to what would satisfy the hard surface requirement.
Gravel would not be a permitted material, especially if it's connected to a driveway that is connected to a town right-of-way. So
about
typically the
asphalt?
hard surface would be some type of paver, an asphalt, or concrete of some sort.
What if I do an asphalt so it matches the driveway?
That would certainly be compliant with town code.
And look better too.
But if it was my backyard, which we consider it our backyard, you could park it on the grass, is that correct?
For the winter time, the code only specifies the hard surface in the front yard for the storage of the one vehicle that's allowed to be there during the summer season. I say summer season, but it crosses a couple of seasons. So from April 1st to November 1st, our code says one recreational vehicle can be parked in the legal front yard, but it has to be on a paved surface. And I'll read it specifically From April 1st to November 1st of any calendar year, one recreational vehicle may be parked or stored on a front yard driveway or other hard surfaced parking area. Such recreational vehicle shall have a minimum setback of 4 feet from the property lines and 3 feet from any side property line. How in the rear yard, there's up to 2 recreational vehicles may be parked or stored in the rear yard. But that doesn't apply here because this property has 2 legal fronts. And there's also a driveway, in both legal front yards, which is not always the case on through lots.
Right, which is why we are applying for the variance, because what we consider our backyard, you consider our front yard.
I would also point out, I recall many years ago, there was an application with respect to the old Carlin School. And part of that application was involving, a church, and they wanted to have parking, but they didn't want a big asphalt parking area. And they came to us, and part of their application, they were using some kind of a paver that the grass grew through holes or something. And so when you parked the cars, it was on a hard surface. But if you looked at it from the street or the neighboring yards, it looked like a lawn. So I would throw that out there for you too.
Do it in asphalt. I don't want the grass to grow through it and look like that. I want it to look neatly.
Yeah. Yeah, asphalt's fine.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, may I clarify for the record, the asphalt that you're adding is to the, by the east lot line, correct?
Well, we're just talking hard surface, wherever it may be. I had indicated that from my vantage point, I liked by the east line, and yes, that would be coming down from the east side of the garage, joining the driveway as it is coming off of Seneca Road. That's what I had envisioned.
So for the camper, so then in the summer, for the boat, we would have to pave something in the front yard where we were talking originally for the boat to set. Is that what I'm understanding?
You mean on the Brandon Road side?
Yes.
That's where a hard surface would be if you were going to park the camper and the boats there, yes.
So,
you know, but we haven't heard from any of the other members of the board.
No,
They may
I
or
know.
may not be okay with not the variance for the hard surface. I don't know. That's why I was inviting comments from the other members of the board, comments or questions.
To the applicant, do you pull the vehicles out to the Brandon roadside or to Seneca when you're moving them?
when we leave out the Brandon roadside. And then we typically pull in from the Seneca so that we can just pull them over onto the area where they are.
Chairman, where were you thinking the arborvitae's, in front of them where they were or behind them?
I was thinking of arborvitae that would, where the line of the frame garage closest to Brandon Road is, carrying that over to the west and to the west side of the driveway, having a row there that would shield that area where they've penciled it in. And from what I can see and surmise from where they're drawing and the way they've drawn it, that would give room for maneuvering them into place, but would shield them from view once they're parked there, so that it wouldn't. I mean, I can appreciate the concern that was raised by a couple of the neighbors of having several things parked in a row not being conducive, but if they're covered behind arbor vitae, then it's much less intrusive in the neighborhood. It's not really visible. It affords greater privacy. And I was thinking that that would also afford room there for maneuvering them in and out, because I imagine the camper just drives, but the recreational vehicle, but the boats are going to have to be maneuvered in there with a trailer.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Trailer.
Would it be,
Yeah.
would it be helpful for me to share my screen to bring up 109 Seneca so everybody can see
Sure,
the same map at the same time?
sure.
You want to be wowed by my technical expertise?
I already am, but just-
Okay. So do you all see the map that I'm seeing
Yep.
yes.
on the shared screen? So everybody who's watching this on Facebook Live can also see it. And I want to apologize that my dog Lulu just also joined the meeting downstairs in the basement. So if you hear tip tapping, that's my dog who should not even be here.
Okay.
So bear with me for a minute. I'm just going to I'm going to zoom in.
Wow.
And we're gonna slide over. Hopefully this is showing up pretty well for everybody. So here is the area. This is the application that was submitted. So Chairman, can everybody see the cursor moving around when I move it?
Yes.
And waving a
Yes,
hand?
Carrie.
Looks good, Carrie. So Chairman, was the area that you were asking if additional pavement could be filled in?
Yes.
To allow for parking?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted, so that, can the applicant see what I'm doing as well?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Just a point of code variance or, excuse me, code compliance here is our regulations state that paved surfaces, driveways and such should not encroach further than 2 feet. They need a 2-foot setback from side or from side lot lines or front and rear, not so much but from any rear or side line, just to allow for runoff. So there need to be a 2-foot gap.
Well, according to the measurement that the surveyor placed on the map at the northeast corner of the garage, it's set back 2.9 feet.
Yep.
So
So-
what I was suggesting was continuing that east line of the driveway.
Yep.
Connecting it to that corner where the driveway curves to the west.
So that would be code compliant for sure.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Carrie, can you just indicate what he just said on the map so I can see it?
So over here, in other words, if there is going to be new pavement added, one potential option would be to have it be paved all the way here. If it aligned with the corner of the garage, it would be by virtue of being aligned with that corner, be compliant with regulations that stipulate the distance from which edges of pavement need to be from side lot lines. And I don't know if the applicant wants me to identify other places where, and now this was the area, I think, Jim, you were suggesting arborvitae, so somewhere in this vicinity?
No, closer to Brandon Road.
Oh, so somewhere over here.
No, in the middle, where the line is, where the south line is of the frame garage,
Okay. Oh, in line with here.
in line with that.
Okay, but on
Is
the other
what I-
side, yeah, so on the west side of the driveway and in line with the back side of the garage.
Right,
Or
And
the
then-
the building line that's closest to Brandon.
right. And then where on the map where they're depicting that the vehicle, the 2 boats and the RV would be, or the 1 boat's gonna be in the garage until it's sold. The boat and the RV would be there. That could be an area that could be paved and shielded by the arbor vitae from view from the houses on Brandon.
About this lot line. They gotta be trees.
I can,
No, they didn't say that.
and you can let me know when you don't need me to share this any longer. I just thought this might be helpful to communicate so everybody could be looking at the same thing. Are you ready for me to take this down then? Everybody's comfortable? Okay, I'm gonna stop the share then.
All right. All right, so are there any other questions or comments from members of the board or the applicant?
Anything else?
What about the yellow house driveway? Whatever everybody's.
Jim, can we just clarify why they wouldn't be able to park it in the driveway?
I think because they want to be able to move cars through the driveway. But I'll let the applicant address that, but that was my understanding, was that they wanted to have that free flow of the driveway from Seneca to Brandon.
Right, the driveway is rather narrow, so.
And it's hard for the plow guy in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Because he usually pushes the snow where the camper is now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard for him to move the truck around and plow.
And plus, my husband is a volunteer fireman and he does have to have access to get out anytime.
Right, but he has the two or he has both sides, so as long as one of them's open, he should be good, right?
You should answer that.
Yes.
Was that a yes that he's right, or yes, you would
Yes.
answer? Okay. So Ryan, I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about, having the RV and the boat stored somewhere on what's already paved?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing, what I'm hearing is, I understand that it's not, it's hard to get the boat in the garage, but I mean, you do have a garage and you could park the boat in the garage too, I mean, most people don't have a through, and I understand that your situation is rare, but most people don't have two sides of a driveway either. So I was just, concerned about that. But I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I also understand that there's two sides of the driveway too, and you have a pretty large driveway for, a driveway in the town of Arundecoy.
The driveway that you use the most is the one off of Seneca, right?
Use both.
We use both.
You use both. Okay, so you go through.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not real good at backing up, and backing out up to the Seneca is very narrow.
So it's a perfect lot for you then. You don't ever have to back up. All right. And you brought up the issue of snow storage in the wintertime. So where I was suggesting that you park the RV is where your plow guy piles all the snow during the winter?
Yes, so you could get in front of the garage. He pushes it all across the front of the garage into that spot.
All right.
Otherwise, he tries to back blade it, but he can't really get a good job. He can do it, but not that good.
All right. And if the camper was parked there, he'd have to pile it off to the west of the driveway, which would give you a big pile looking out the back of your house, right?
Right, right.
And I know how those don't look real good by the time you get to February. So let me see if I understand correctly. You would be willing to put in a row of arborvitae or something like that to shield the view and have one RV and one boat on a hard surface, probably asphalt, in that area where you've depicted it on the copy of the map that was attached to your application?
Yes.
He said yes. I don't know if you heard him.
No, I heard that.
Okay.
All right, does any of the other members of the board have any other questions or comments for the applicant?
I got one more. Have you,
Okay.
to the applicant, have you looked at storing off site, one or two?
It'll be expensive. That's what we used to do. We bought this house so we wouldn't have to do all that.
I know it's expensive because I got both a camper and a boat up north where I have to store them all winter.
Right. And plus, when I work on the boat, it's here. I don't have to go get it or go someplace and work on it.
I mean, if we didn't have a through lot and we parked the camper in the backyard, it wouldn't be an issue.
Correct. The problem arises because you have a through lot, so you
Right.
don't have a backyard.
Right.
But you have what, for all practical purposes, you have a big backyard with two front yards.
Right.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Does the applicant wish to add anything that we haven't already addressed?
Yeah,
Um,
Chairman, I just.
Yes.
Did I hear the applicant say that they were willing to keep the boat for sale in the garage until it's sold?
Yes.
We're
Yes.
limited to just two RVs.
Right. So that eliminates the extra vehicle. What did you want to say?
All right,
So that
thank
would take us down to two variances.
Right.
Yes. And you were agreeable to having asphalt.
Well,
where
some sort of a hard
stored.
service, yes.
So that takes us down to the one variance, which just deals with the practical implication of not having a recognized backyard.
I believe so. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Right. Do the arborvitaes have to be along the south on Brandon Road to where you wanted them? Can they be along the other side of the garage, parallel to Brandon Road?
That's what.
And not put everything.
That-
behind
That's
their
what I had in mind was that extending the south line of the garage that faces Brandon Road to the west and planting the arbor vitae along so that as you were approaching the property from Brandon Road, to your left would be a row of arbor vitae, then there'd be the driveway, and then there would be the garage to the right.
Right. So the arborvitae should be parallel with Brandon Road. The row.
Yes, yes.
On the south, off the south side of the garage. What if I did it off the north?
I'm sharing the screen again so that you can see. So I'm
Well,
drawing,
I
I'm
mean,
moving,
having them further north would be fine. I was just trying to, I made that suggestion as a way of minimizing the visual impact on the people at Brandon Road who seemed to be the ones that were most concerned about that aspect of the application. And the way you depicted it there, it appeared to me that you would need some additional space between the vehicles and the arbor vitae in order to maneuver them. Now, if you put them in so they were parallel to Brandon Road, then that would probably be having them further north wouldn't seem to me would create any problem for you at all. But my only point was to have them somewhere in there to minimize that visual impact of the RVs, the vehicles being stored there.
Here. So would it matter to you when we put it?
No, not to me. All I would, if all I would say is as a condition would be that the applicant will plant arbor vitae of 8 feet or more so that it shields the visual impact from Brandon Road, and that that shrubs, plants, whatever they may be, would be parallel to Brandon Road. And if you wanted to put it,
Looks nice and neat.
yeah, that's
What I'll do.
you have a very neat looking property, and it's very unique. And I understand that, you know, the problem is created by the fact that you really don't have a legally recognized backyard, but the reality is that you do. And so trying to accommodate the uniqueness of your property with the requirements and the concern of, and I think it's a legitimate concern about having them parked out there, having that will make it look very neat and probably be no problem I would think, for most of your neighbors.
Well,
Not
and
all.
privacy for me too.
Privacy for you as well.
I
Somebody
feel like I'm on
drive-
display in the summertime. People walk by. All you do is stare at us.
Yeah, well, and it also would, you know, deter somebody from pulling up with a hitch and saying, that's a nice boat. I think I'll take it.
Well, we could take the one.
Yeah. Anybody looking for a boat?
Yeah.
Not tonight.
And any other comments from the board or the applicant before we open up the hearing to public input?
That's it.
No, we're good.
All right, then, is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application?
I'm not seeing any hands raised. Just as a reminder, you press, you have to, there is a way to indicate you'd like to speak. Typically, it's a right click. Not seeing anyone.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application?
I'm still not seeing anyone.
Anyone who'd like to talk to us about through lots or RVs and boats?
Need a permit for them trees.
I don't think so. We can talk again after.
All right, seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter and move on to the next item on our agenda.
We don't need a permit if they're going to require them.
Same here. Parking is this way.
Mr. Chairman, next case on the agenda
Yes,
is case number ZB 2020-12-8. Upon the matter of request by Lynn O'Brien and Donald Scanzaroli for an area variance to construct a deck with less than required rear setback on premises 5284 St. Paul Boulevard, otherwise known as 163 Lakefront, in an R2 residential district.
do we have the applicant with us?
We do. If you'll hold on for one moment, I will be welcoming Lynn O'Brien, it appears to be, to the meeting.
Okay.
Good
Ms.
evening.
O'Brien, can you hear us?
Yes, it's Don and I are both here.
Okay. And you both reside at 5284 St. Paul Boulevard?
Correct.
If you could raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
did.
All right. And for my edification, when we're talking about a front setback, we're talking about what would to most of us be perceived as your back of the house because it's not visible from St. Paul Boulevard, right?
Correct.
That is correct.
All right, so this is a lakefront deck that you're talking about.
That is correct.
And if I'm reading the survey correct, we're talking about, you're looking for a variance of 4 feet.
That's
That would,
correct.
that would be behind a 427 plus foot empty space. Is that
Correct.
right?
That is correct.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure about that. Okay.
We own that empty space also.
I realize that most
Okay.
of the time that's the way it is up there, although I also know there's been a lot of litigation over all that, but over the years.
We're newer to the game.
There you go. And for the record, there was a letter submitted with your application that was signed by several people whose writing I can't read, but their addresses are 151 Lakefront, 139 Lakefront, 169 Lakefront, 5280 St. Paul Boulevard, and 187 Lakefront.
Also, 157 Lakefront on a separate letter attached. There were 2 letters. Or 5294 St. Paul, the McGrath's next door.
Okay, I don't think I saw that, but that's fine. That was submitted as well.
Yes, it was.
Okay, all right. So does anyone on the board have any questions or comments for the applicant? Don't all speak at once. Apparently not. That either means your application was very clear and straightforward, or everybody's tired and just trying to stay awake, one or the other.
We do have a front porch that you've already approved and we have just completed. So we do have the front porch. I know you're a fan of those.
I saw it. It looked very nice.
Thank you.
All right. I guess then we can open it up to public input. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is
I
there
am
anyone?
Not
I'm
seeing
sorry.
anyone. I apologize. I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone who'd like to talk to us about what is front, what is rear? Anything like that? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter and go back to see if we have been joined by the applicant with respect to the first case on our agenda for 15 Gladmar Drive, or 15, I guess it was.
So I'm going to see if anybody's on the call or on the meeting for that. They would need to raise their hand. I do see a couple of attendees who've not spoken yet. Don't know if any one of them are there representing the applicant. Yeah, I'm not seeing, no hands are going up. So I don't know if we've have an issue with attendance or technical difficulty, but I'm not seeing any hands going up.
All right, then we will, seeing that there's nobody here yet, we'll take that up during the deliberative portion of the meeting. And we'll recess now for, can we recess for 5 minutes? Is that enough time for everyone?
Sure.
All right, then we'll be in recess for the next 5 minutes. Michelle, are you there? I did not get
Carrie
any,
emailed them.
all right, then let me go find the email and print them out.
I'm sorry, I scanned them and I didn't send them. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you. That clears up why I didn't have them.
Yeah. My apologies there.
Not a problem. Oh, I do have them. Carrie sent them.
Yes, sir.
My apologies.
No worries.
I should have checked that before logging in. I should have known that you were both right on top of it.
We try.
You succeed.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
All of the
True.
time, all of the time.
Let's see. I may have spoken too soon. I have one for 5284 St. Paul Boulevard.
Bear with me for a second. I may have just sent, Michelle, do you save them as a PDF somewhere, like all of them?
Oh, I scanned them all into the scan file.
Oh, bear with me for a second. I can forward that then.
In the scan file, there should have been all of them. I apologize.
You don't mean the zone, not the zoning, the scan file
On our drive.
to your scan file?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, then I probably won't be able to get it.
Do you want me to try to log in and?
Why don't you do that, if you can? You should be able to unsplash. You may be able to log in and not lose connection to the Zoom. I would just minimize your Zoom window for a minute.
Okay, Jim, let me know if you got them. I just sent them.
All right. Got him.
And I didn't lose connection.
All right, they're all there.
Great.
I'll print them out and then we'll get back underway. All right, it looks like everybody's here. I apologize for the delay. I had to print out the record of motion sheets that I use for recording the determinations that we make. So we don't have an applicant for 15 Gladmar Drive. At least we haven't so far. Is the applicant for 394 Washington Avenue still with us? How about the applicant for 11 Norcrest Drive? How about the applicant for 1280 North Winton?
The applicant for Washington Ave is still here. Oh, nope, bear with me. So, bear with me. The applicant for the chicken coop is still here?
Marika Magitsky.
Yes, so she's here. The O'Briens are here. Lynn O'Brien, the lakefront property is here. Looks like Mary. And
All right.
And I'm looking.
Hold on,
apologize.
because otherwise I'm going to get confused if I don't go through them in order and separate out the applications. So we don't have any, Ms. Gigliotti is not still present from 1280 North
No.
Winton, right?
No.
Okay. All right. And And Ms. Buchanan from 2600 St. Paul is no longer with us.
No, she was by phone.
Okay. And the Stamps are no longer with us.
I don't think, what was the last name?
Stamps, that was the,
She had the architect, Raza.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, no, I
Maroa-
don't think they're not here.
okay. You said Mary for 109 Seneca Avenue, Seneca Road is
believe it-
still here, right?
I believe so, yes.
And the O'Briens are still here.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So then we will take up. Hold on, give me a second. I gotta switch these into the order that I need them in.
somebody just
Um,
phoned in. So I'm just gonna say the last four numbers. It's 6467, and I'm gonna allow them to talk just to identify who they are.
Okay.
So caller who just joined, 6467 are the last numbers. What property address are you related to?
394 Washington Avenue.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you again. I just wanted to make sure I identify which application for the chairman.
Yes, Sam.
So that's Ms. Barber's application.
For not, yeah, for Washington Ave.
Right. All right. I'm just sorting through matching up the motion sheets with the applications so that I don't fill out the wrong sheet for the right application. All right. So then the first case on the agenda for which we have an applicant present is the application pertaining to 394 Washington Avenue. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion. I'll
Okay,
make this is Ryan, Jim. I'll make a motion that we grant the application request as written for an area variance. Possible change to the character of the neighborhood. There's many people in the town and on that street that have sheds. So I don't think that it would completely change the character of the neighborhood. She does not have a garage. And she used to use I can't remember what you said, Jim. I think it was like a pop-up.
camper.
It was,
It was
a
an old
camper
camper, yeah.
Yeah, for storage. So certainly, I think that would help bring a little bit more beautification to the neighborhood. Alternative solutions. I mean, she could build a garage, but that would be, pretty excessive as far as the cost. The other place would be a storage out, off the property, which, to have lawn equipment storage off a property just doesn't make sense. Consider whether the request of the variance is substantial. No, I don't think it's substantial. I mean, she does have a couple of sheds, but she needs the room. And like I said, she doesn't have a garage. And all the other areas or all the other parts, I don't think, or all the other suggestions wouldn't necessarily be appropriate. The area variance having an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions. It's not blocking anybody's view. She meticulously takes care of her property. I don't live actually too far from her, from where I'm at, and I walk by her house actually quite a bit. And she's a super lady, nice woman, and she does take care of her property very nicely. And so I don't think that there's any environmental or physical impacts. It's not, blocking any drainage or anything like that, or blocking anyone's view that I could see. Is the situation self-created? Yes, the situation is self-created, but she does need storage, and you typically wouldn't store, the types of, I'm guessing she has lawn equipment in those sheds. You wouldn't typically store that type of that type of equipment off-site. So
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I would suggest one condition, and that would be that the variance is granted for so long as the existing shed remains on the property. If the shed were to disintegrate or no longer be there, then I don't think the variance should continue because a new owner or a new structure could be placed in conformity with the code. Would that be an acceptable condition?
Sounds good, Jim. I like it.
Yep.
All right, any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hands. Ryan, I can't see you. I assume your hand is up.
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, and Joe, yours was too, right?
Yep.
All right, any opposed? Motion carries 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. One member of the board is absent. The next item on the agenda is the application pertaining to 11 Norcrest Drive. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application for a special use permit?
I'll move, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'll move that we grant the special use permit with the usual chicken conditions. Do I need
Sounds
to
good.
lay them out? The one question I have, we normally do it with maximum of 4 hens. We'll allow them 6, and if they lose 2 of them, they can't replace them.
Yes. So we're limiting it to existing hens and or 4, whichever is less.
Okay.
Oh, no,
Great.
that wouldn't make sense.
No.
We're limiting it to the existing hens with a future maximum of 4.
No replacement hens, limited to 5 years. Annual inspection by a veterinary. Coop's got to be maintained 8 feet from the property line. 2-foot barrier of the coop fencing. Town staff can conduct no notice inspections. Chicken feed to be stored in closed appropriate containers, and the coop to be kept clean and sanitary.
I think those are the usual conditions.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
Jim, I just have a question about the number of hens. Like, let's just say somebody had like 10. Like, how do we know whether to, how many we're gonna allow? And then obviously they can't replace them, but how should we deal that? Like, I mean, obviously 6 isn't that many, but moving forward, like if people have multiple, how are we gonna deal with that?
The further you get away from 4, the less likely it is to get approved.
Yeah, I think it depends on the
Okay.
condition, the site. Some sites have a lot more room around them or
Yeah.
more rules. So I think it's, look at it on individual cases, because
Okay.
initially I was concerned when they said 6. They start out with 5, but I think in that area, there's enough room for 6 as long as we limit it to that.
Right.
One of
yeah,
them is a nice bright red one. All right, and any other discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Raise
Aye.
your hands. And Brian has to say aye. All right.
Aye.
So that motion carries 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstention. One member of the board remains absent. All right. What did I do? Oh, there it is. The next application for consideration is the application pertaining to 109 Seneca Road. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes, I'll make a motion that we grant the variance with conditions. The conditions that I would suggest are that there is no more than 2 vehicles outside, that the vehicles are to be on a hard surface, and they are to be screened with arbor vitae or similar from Brandon Road viewpoint. With respect to the conditions, I would submit that by shielding the vehicles from view, it minimizes any change to the character of the neighborhood. The alternatives that don't require a variance do not exist because, at least from the zoning code point of view, they don't have a backyard. So the code allows for storage of these vehicles on anyone else's backyard, but they don't have a backyard. So in essence, the code says you can't do what everybody else in town is able to do. It's not a substantial request because we have, with the conditions, minimized the variances sought from 3 to 1. It's not going to have a major physical or environmental impact. It's not a self-created situation because the lot is a through lot, and under the particular characterizations of through lots in the town code, they don't have a backyard. But the reality is that they have a larger backyard than most places and 2 front yards, as I see the actual situation. And I think that by those conditions, we've struck an appropriate balance between the property owner's desire to use their property in a way that most, if not all, residents in the town are afforded, with the concerns that were raised by the neighbors concerning the impact of having vehicles like that stored in what appears to be a front yard if you're on Brandon Road. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, before you continue, may I ask, maybe the town attorney can clarify, when you say vehicles, shouldn't it specifically say recreational vehicles?
Well, yes,
Conditions?
when I say, we'll say recreational vehicles, and I'll put in parentheses, campers and boats, because.
Well, I'm thinking they're going to have their own personal vehicles, which is like.
I don't think of a boat as a vehicle.
Yeah.
It's defined as one though.
It is.
Yeah.
I realize that. It's not what it's like they have 2 front yards. I think of them as a big backyard, but I have a different view of some of these things.
I just wanted to clarify. I hope that was okay.
Yes, no, thank you.
That makes sense. I'd like to second.
Thank you. So in actuality, I guess that my motion is to approve the variance that allows for the storage of 2 vehicles and to deny the other variances. Does that make sense, Michelle?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your hands or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6 votes, or any abstentions? Motion carries 6 votes in favor, no abstentions, no opposed. One member of the board remains absent. All right, the next application for consideration is the application pertaining to 5284 St. Paul Boulevard. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I would like to approve this application as written. These owners are clearly working very hard on this property, and I think it will only enhance the neighborhood with this back deck looking out towards the water. I don't think it will have an adverse effect, only a better effect. And yes, self-created, but hey, it's a back porch in a beautiful area. And yeah, I say that we approve as is. Short and sweet.
is there a
I'll
second? Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hands or say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. One member of the board remains absent. All right, now with respect to the other applications for the applicants who are no longer present, the first one on the agenda is the application with respect to 15 Gladmar Drive. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. I know that we didn't have the applicant present, and normally we don't take any action with respect to an application when the applicant isn't present. It seems to me, though, that given the nature of this application, it's appropriate to use the vernacular to have a variance from our usual procedure. The only issue here is whether or not the applicant is going to be required to reposition the fence so that the finished side of the fence faces the neighbor who does not own the property that the fence surrounds. It seems to me that that's not an issue that would have benefited from a public hearing. Nobody called in to address that application, not even the applicant. We do have a letter with the application from the neighbor who is most directly affected by it, and that's the neighbor to the west, who indicates he's fine with the fence the way it is. I also had the opportunity to talk to the neighbor to the south, who was fine with the fence the way it is. Their only request, which if that could be communicated to the applicant, was that the applicant fill in dirt so that there's no gap between the bottom of the fence panels and the ground. So I would move to grant the variance as requested with the following findings. It's not going to create an adverse change to the neighborhood. The alternatives that don't require a variance would require him to take off the panels and reposition them. It's not a substantial request. It is doesn't have any detrimental effect on the environment. It is self-created to the extent he indicated, although the neighbor to the south also indicated the same misunderstanding of what the requirement was. So with those findings, I would move that we grant the variance. Is there a second?
Sure.
Second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
also you got the 4-foot height for the side lot where it's into the front of the house is 6 foot high. So there's a
Oh,
2 foot.
Yeah, that's right. That would continue on the existing line. There was no opposition to that from the neighbor to the south, who's the one who would be mostly affected by that either. So I would suggest that we approve both. Brian, you seconded it. Is that okay with you?
I didn't second it.
Who did?
Sean.
Oh, Sean did.
I have a
Yes.
question though, Jim.
Yes.
So did like the contractor just put it up wrong, or why is it the wrong way?
No, my understanding is that the owner to the south, his grandson, I think it was, and the property owner called into the town and spoke with someone in the town, and they misunderstood what was said. I gather from reading the application and talking with the grandson that the nature of their inquiry was misunderstood because the owner of the property to the south and the property owner jointly put up the fence. So, and it's right on the property line. So the finished side could really be on either side because it's defined as being the side that faces the non-owner. And so they thought that applied to the both sections of fencing and put it up that way. So it wasn't a contractor error. It wasn't anyone who was flouting any of the requirements. It was just a misunderstanding, a miscommunication between the property owner and whoever they spoke to at the town. But they
Thanks
did
for-
get a permit and they did
Okay.
follow all the other rules.
Thanks for clarifying that, Jim. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
you're welcome. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hands. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. We have 1 member absent and move on to the next application on our agenda for the evening. This is the application pertaining to 1280 North Winton Road. This is also a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application? I'll make a motion then that we grant the variance as requested. This is an interesting, property has an interesting history with respect to our board. I don't believe that the granting the variance will not change the neighborhood character. There are several signs that already exist on that side of Winton Road, and they help to identify and delineate the different organizations that are occupying the various buildings that are not readily distinguishable from the road because they are at a substantially lower altitude than the road itself. The alternative that doesn't require a variance would also make it harder to find. There really isn't an alternative. It's not a substantial request. There's no adverse effect on the environment. It's self-created only to the extent that they own the building and are trying to make it easier for their clientele to find it and use it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hands or say aye.
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 Or aye. All right, any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. And we still have 1 member of the board who is not with us. At least tonight. All right, the next item on the agenda is the application pertaining to 2600 St. Paul Boulevard. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that we grant the variance as requested with the condition that that the applicant use the square lattice fence. I would simply adopt all of the findings that we made 2 months ago when we approved this same variance with respect to the impact on the environment and things of that nature. The difference in the height between 3.5 feet and 4 feet is not substantial at all. The fact that it's a lattice fence still allows for being able to see through the fence to the road and vice versa. And the fact that it's a lattice fence would take care of the neighbor's concern that he might have trouble seeing traffic pulling out of his driveway because you can see through that fence. In that sense, it is in keeping with the spirit of the front fence requirement that it be something that is not a solid barrier and a wall that's erected in front of a house. And but the nature of the previous style fence that we had approved is such that the applicant's granddaughter or a dog could get through the fence, which in reality defeats the whole purpose of a fence. So I believe that it strikes an appropriate balance between the ordinance and the home applicant's need. Is there a second?
Second.
Who was that? Was that Sean? Okay. All right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. 1 member of the board remains absent. The next item on our agenda, the final item on our agenda, is the application pertaining to 42 Moroa Drive. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does someone wish to make an application or a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion. I'd move that we approve the application as it's been proposed. It doesn't appear that there's any negative environmental impacts, nor will it compromise in any way the property or the surrounding neighborhood. I think echoing the chairman's comments, quite to the contrary. I believe the addition of front porches and front-facing outdoor living spaces do serve to better connect our neighbors and allow residents to develop stronger ties to the community. I think especially in this moment, it's something we're all placing a greater value on as we look forward to emerging from this pandemic. And I think for these reasons, I think we should approve this application.
Second. I gotta second that one with a porch, man.
There you go. You know the one I'm talking about.
45 Minocqua.
That is it. Yes. All right. For those who are listening, it was Ryan's in-laws that wanted to put up that porch down the street from me that our board turned down because if they let them do it, then everyone might want to do it, which struck me at the time as not really being perhaps a good line of reasoning, but you know, that was then, this is now. All right. All those in favor say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. One member of the board remains absent. All right, so that concludes our agenda for the evening. With the packets that we received from Michelle, we also received minutes from the October 5th meeting and the November 2nd meeting. Taking up the October 5th minutes first. Did everyone have an opportunity to review those? And does anyone have any suggestions for any changes or revisions to the minutes as prepared? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to adopt the minutes for October 5th?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes for October 5th as presented and written by Town of Arundecoy staff.
All right, I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hands. All right, any opposed? Mr. Hart, I bet you're abstaining because you weren't present.
Correct.
So the motion carries 5 votes in favor, no opposed, and we still have 1 member of the board who is absent. Then we have the minutes from the meeting of November 2nd, 2020. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those? And does anyone have any suggestions for changes or revisions to the minutes for November 2nd? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that we adopt and approve the minutes as drafted for November 2nd, 2020. Is there a second? Mr. Upson,
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 6 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, and we still have 1 member of the board who is absent. So that concludes our agenda. And Mr. Upson, you're muted. Brad, you're muted, I think, because I can't hear you, but I see that you're talking and you raise your hand. There you go.
I'm sorry, I got a housekeeping item. We still have that signed application from 2841 Culver Road for I think it was a daycare center, I think. You're muted, Mr. Carey. That was tabled back in November 2019. How long do we have to keep something on a table?
So I think that this board had allowed that they could come back with that design or detail. What we can do is staff can reach out to the applicant to determine whether or not they still are interested in moving forward with that signage and indicate to them some type of a time limit in order to come back under that first application.
Okay, I just didn't know if we had something in the codes about keeping an application open for.
It wasn't, if memory serves me, and I certainly could be wrong. I don't think a set time was specified. And so if we can, at this point, provide some guidance as to, just out of fairness, if we didn't provide them with any deadline, we should.
I agree. I would just tell them that at least some members of the board are interested. If they don't want to act, I'd like to move to take this off the table, and they'll have to reapply.
Sure.
I think Mr. Vanderwall can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it was tabled with their consent, which means that the time limitations that normally would apply requiring us to act within, I think it's 60 days, don't apply because they essentially waived all time limits until they acted. But I agree with Mr. Upson. I would suggest if it meets with the rest of the board's approval, that we ask the applicant to either withdraw the application or come before us in January or at our February meeting. And that would give them time to decide what they want to do and submit any paperwork that would be needed.
That makes sense.
Is there anyone who disagrees with that or would suggest any other suggestions? Seeing
I
none,
concur, Jim.
All right. Seeing none, Carrie, if you or Michelle could communicate that to them. And then we won't have anything hanging around.
Will do, sir.
All right. I believe that concludes all our official business for this evening. After we log off of the broadcast, if there's something that I wanted to discuss just internally with the board, if we could have, if everybody could hang on for a little while after we're done broadcasting.